What is life really about? Have you ever stopped in the middle of your busy day and wondered if you're running on a hamster wheel, working harder and harder, chasing more money, more success, more likes, more validation, but never quite feeling like you've arrived? I know I have. We're sold this story from childhood. Study hard, get good grades, land a prestigious job, make lots of money, and then, finally then, you'll be happy. But what if that's not entirely true? What if we've been chasing a mirage all along? What if everything you've been taught about success and happiness is actually a carefully constructed lie? Well, are you ready to discover what's behind it? Because once you see what I'm about to show you, you can't unsee it. We've all fantasized about winning the lottery or landing that job with a six-figure salary. More money equals more happiness, right? Well, not exactly. Yes, happiness does increase with income, but only up to a certain point. And that point is surprisingly lower than most people think. In Eastern Europe, for example, life satisfaction peaks at around $45,000 per year. After that threshold, the happiness returns on each additional dollar start to diminish dramatically. Some studies even suggest that beyond this point, more money often brings more problems, increased stress, less free time, and constant comparison with even wealthier peers. So when you're making $20,000 a year, a $5,000 raise is life-changing. But when you're making $200,000, that same $5,000 barely registers emotionally. Yet we keep chasing more and more, convinced that the next financial milestone will finally bring contentment. The truth is, after our basic needs are met, what matters more for happiness isn't the absolute amount of money we have, but rather our relationship with it, how we spend it, and whether we're using it to buy time and experiences rather than just more stuff. But if money isn't the ultimate answer to happiness, why are we so obsessed with it? That brings us to our next uncomfortable truth. From the moment we enter school, we're taught to exist within a system of evaluation and ranking. Who got the highest grade? Who ran the fastest? Who has the most friends? This constant comparison is just baked into our educational systems, our workplaces, and now, thanks to social media, our leisure time too. And the problem is that this fear of judgment kills creativity and destroys self-esteem. When we're always looking over our shoulders to see how we measure up against others, we stop taking risks. We stop expressing our authentic selves. We start making choices based on what will earn approval rather than what actually feels right. And schools are particularly guilty of fueling this obsession with external validation. From standardized tests to class rankings, your worth is determined by how you compare to others. And this mentality follows us into adulthood, where we graduate from comparing test scores to comparing salaries, house sizes, and vacation destinations. But this comparison game is rigged from the start, because no matter how well you're doing, there will always be someone doing better. The finish line keeps moving, and that brings us to another delusion we collectively suffer from. We've become a society obsessed with ratings. Everything gets a score, from the essays we write in school to the hotels we stay in on vacation. 5 stars, 10 points, a perfect 100. But these rating systems have become warped beyond recognition. Online, anything less than 5 stars is considered a failure. A 4-star review, which should logically mean above average, is now seen as damning criticism. Restaurant owners panic over a 4.7 instead of a 4.8 rating. And what happens when everything needs to be perfect? People cheat the system. Hotels beg for 5-star reviews, offer perks, or even buy fake ones. Products bribe with freebies for good feedback. The result? Ratings become meaningless. 5 stars just means not terrible, and we're stuck chasing a fake idea of perfection. This illusion of perfection doesn't just affect products and services. It affects how we view success stories and the paths to achievement. The self-help industry makes billions selling the idea that success comes from simple formulas. Classics like How to Win Friends and Influence People, or Think and Grow Rich, just to mention a few, offer useful tips, but often ignore the real roles of privilege, opportunity, and luck. Or worse, some motivational programs use cult-like tactics, emotional pressure, peer manipulation, and creating dependency to keep people spending more. These success secrets may sound good, but they often fall apart on closer look. And one of the biggest myths is what we'll explore next. Malcolm Gladwell popularized the idea that mastery in any field requires about 10,000 hours of practice. It's a comforting thought. Put in the time and success will follow. But reality is way more complicated. Yes, practice matters tremendously, but it's far from the only factor that determines success. What about genetics? Some people are naturally more suited to certain activities. What about social context and connections? Having mentors and access to opportunities makes an enormous difference. What about financial support? Being able to practice for 10,000 hours often requires having enough money to support yourself while not working, or at least while working less. And then there's luck, being in the right place at the right time. This leads us to an even bigger blind spot in how we think about success. We hear endlessly about the entrepreneurs who risked everything and made it big, the artists who struggled for years before becoming overnight sensations, the athletes who overcame incredible odds to become champions. But what about all the people who took the same risks and failed? The entrepreneurs who lost everything, the artists who never got their big break, the athletes whose careers ended with injury before they could make it to the pros. We don't hear their stories, and that creates a distorted picture of reality. This is called survivor bias, and there's a fascinating example from World War II that illustrates it perfectly. Analysts wanted to determine where to add armor to bombers returning from missions with bullet holes. Their initial instinct was to reinforce the areas showing the most damage, but statistician Abraham Wald pointed out a crucial flaw in this thinking. They were only looking at the planes that had survived. The vulnerable areas weren't where the returning planes had bullet holes. They were the areas where planes that had been shot down had been hit. The same principle applies to success stories. By focusing only on those who made it, we get a skewed understanding of what actually leads to success. And this brings us to one of the most prominent success stories of our time. Yes, I'm going to talk about this guy. Elon Musk is often seen as the ultimate self-made genius, someone who built his empire through brains and hustle alone. And sure, he's incredibly smart and driven, but the self-made part, that's worth a second look. Musk grew up in a wealthy South African family. His dad co-owned an emerald mine. That kind of background gives you a leg up, access to top education, a financial cushion, and options most people never get. On top of that, his companies, like Tesla and SpaceX, have gotten nearly $5 billion in government support through subsidies, contracts, and public infrastructure. Don't get me wrong, this isn't about taking credit away from Musk. It's just a reminder, even the biggest success stories didn't happen in a vacuum. Like the saying goes, you don't jump that high without a trampoline. And speaking of high-flying lifestyles, there's another inconvenient truth about the lifestyles of the ultra-wealthy. They're fundamentally unsustainable on a global scale. If everyone lived like the average American billionaire, we'd need 4 to 6 planets to keep up. Private jets, mansions, yachts. It's an unsustainable lifestyle by definition. So why do we treat it as the ultimate goal? It's a fair question. The good news? Other, more sustainable models of success are already thriving around the world. Not all cultures chase success through wealth and status. Some focus on balance, well-being, and shared prosperity. Take Norway. Instead of letting oil profits enrich a few, they invest in a national fund that supports healthcare, education, and infrastructure for all. In Sweden, the idea of lagom, just enough, promotes balance over excess. These models value quality of life, not just wealth. They suggest that success isn't about climbing higher, but finding what truly matters to you. There's no one-size-fits-all path. Ask yourself, am I chasing what I really want, or just what I've been told to want? In the end, life isn't about the race, the rating system, bank account balance, the social media. It's about meaning, connection, and leaving things better than you found them. Maybe the real success is simply living by your own answer to what makes life worth it.